All right, so we are joined on Sports Seriously by one of the best and busiest insiders in the NFL. We have Fox Sports' very own Jay Glazer. Thank you so much for being on. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Jay, thanks for joining us. You're here on behalf of your new book. I'm wondering, what inspired you to write Unbreakable?
You know, people have asked me to write NFL books for a long time, but I don't want to look over my shoulder for the rest of my life. So I'm like, nah, I can't do that. But, you know, a couple of years ago, like I've never hidden my version of crazy, if you will. And especially like being in football and then mixed martial arts, like, man, being crazy for me was a badge of honor. But then, you know, the work that I've done with our vets, I'm very vulnerable with them. And I really open up about my own, you know, struggles with mental health. And back then we called it crazy. Now we call it, you know, depression and anxiety. And the crazy is really what is a result of the pain that somebody like me is in with depression, anxiety. And then I wrote about it somewhere. And when I'm like, I literally am an open book. So I will just talk and be very vulnerable. And like, no one's questioning my manhood. So I could cry on the drop of a dime. And I talked about it like 2 years ago. I wrote about it. And the response was like, oh my God, you too? Like even you have depression, anxiety? And I'm like, yeah, and I was kind of like shocked. And then I realized, you know, one of the things that helps me through, I call it the gray, is being of service. And by me being able to be this voice and leading a lot of us through the gray, that's a way for me to be of service. So when I got approached about writing the book, it was kind of the crazy life and times with Jay Glazer, but I agreed to do the book if it could be more of a help book for people, an empowerment book where I could, you know, be of service to people and lift people up.
So I know we're in the middle of the playoffs right now, but this offseason is more than likely going to have some dramatic changes. And we want to forecast some of the biggest talking points of this offseason. So I want to start with you. What's the biggest storyline you're going to be tracking this offseason, you think?
It's the veteran quarterbacks who could be on the move, right? So you have Russel Wilson, you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Deshaun Watson. That's huge. And we saw it with Brady a couple of years ago, and it worked out pretty damn well for them. You don't have three of these guys on this level who could change, who could be had. And that for me is going to be, that's the thing, because there's going to be a huge domino effect with all that. I mean, again, if Aaron Rodgers goes somewhere, that franchise changes immediately. I mean, all three of those guys, they could change the franchise.
And speaking of Russell Wilson, Jay, what's going on in Seattle? Pete Carroll's still there, but the team has a QB that kind of wants to explore other options. This was once one of the best organizations out there. Now it feels like it's going nowhere. Do you feel that same way right now with Seattle?
Well, I think a lot of this stuff with Russell also, it's kind of weird how it's like Russell and his team will put it out that, well, we don't want to trade, but if we do, it'll be these four teams. And then he's like, I'm not the one doing it. Well, yeah, you are. Yeah, you kind of are. And so it's just bizarre, I think, situation up there. I will tell you this, the Seahawks culture is one of the better cultures in the NFL. If you have a culture, this winning culture where it just feeds it, and I've had coaches bring players in and they'll tell like, I don't know if he's going to fit. Our culture will take care of him. Watch what our culture will do with this guy. Like you look at some of the losing teams out there, they lose over and over and over and over because that's their culture. They expect the sky to fall, or they got an arrogance where, hey, we know what we're doing, when it's just, you know, the win. A lot of the winning teams, they don't have this arrogance. You know, I think a lot of teams are going to try and, you know, pry Russell away. And look, again, it's like Russell had 4 teams last year he's willing to go to, and he has a no trade clause. So he can also dictate where he goes, where he doesn't.
Big Ben is likely retiring, and the team doesn't really look like they've got a plan right now, but they do have a solid team that can win. What do you think we can expect from Pittsburgh?
I mean, I know they don't want to start over the rookie too. I think they want a veteran. I know they want a veteran. And yeah, Ben, they're surprised Ben came back this past year. And it's the same. It's like, look, with Mike Tomlin over there, man, they should, for the stuff he's done in the past with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, Mike Tomlin should get like a Nobel Peace Prize. Right? And it's unbelievable what he's 150 wins. He's never had a losing season. Like, I really want Steeler fans to understand how ridiculous that is. Yeah. Like, he should have a bridge and a tunnel and an avenue and a lane and a boulevard all named after him.
Jay, speaking of Coach Tomlin, he's the only black coach in the NFL right now, to me, which is just astounding and sad. Do you think other minority coaches which minority coaches are you looking at possibly getting a head coaching job this year?
But it's ridiculous. Like they were even talking about this. And back then I was trying to push Mike to be a head coach. And, hey, he went on the Dolphins and he interviewed and they're like, nah, we're going to go with an offensive guy. They literally said to me, best interview we ever had, but we're going to go with an offensive guy. So these cats outsmart themselves an awful lot. But there's so many great coaches out there, white, black, whatever it is, great coaches, that a lot of the people who do the hiring, they got to get their heads out of their butts and stop having everybody in the box that really hasn't worked an awful lot, right? So there's a lot of coaches out there like a Raheem Morris or a Vance Joseph or a Todd Bowles or a Byron Leftwich. Like, listen, Byron Leftwich, this guy coached with Tom Brady. He's coached and learned under Bruce Arians. He's coached with Mike Tomlin. I mean, seriously, how's Byron Leftwich not on every list? But I'm sorry, when it's a white coach, they do, this guy, man, he's going to be the next Sean McVay. And that's what you got to look at. Like Byron Leftwich has not had, he's on, who was the Jaguars and maybe one of, this dude has learned from Tom Brady and helped run this with Tom Brady. Are you serious? Problem is a huge disconnect. To have one black coach in the whole league is ridiculous. And it's so ridiculous. Like Tomlin and I talked about the other night, and he's just like, honestly, it's gotten so ridiculous. I don't know, where to begin.
Hey, sports fans, if you want to watch more sports seriously, be sure to check out these clips right here. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all the great content from us here at USA Today Sports.